In a dramatic escalation of Middle East tensions, Israel launched a series of airstrikes deep into Iranian territory on June 12, 2025. The surprise military campaign, dubbed Operation Rising Lion, targeted Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities and key military infrastructure, including bases of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. The strikes mark one of the most significant direct confrontations between the two regional rivals in recent years. According to Israeli military officials, the operation was launched as a preemptive measure to disrupt what they described as Iran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. The targets reportedly included uranium enrichment facilities at Natanz and other underground locations suspected of housing centrifuges. Several high-ranking Iranian officials were also reported killed in the strikes, including top IRGC commanders and key nuclear scientists. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation shortly after the operation was confirmed. He framed the offensive as a necessary act of national defense, claiming that Iran was only weeks away from achieving weapons-grade nuclear capabilities. Netanyahu stated that Israel must act decisively to prevent a second Holocaust, emphasizing the existential threat he believes a nuclear-armed Iran poses to the Jewish state. Iran swiftly condemned the attacks and vowed retaliation. The Iranian government declared a state of emergency and placed its military forces on high alert. Iranian state media reported that while air defense systems managed to intercept some of the incoming missiles, several critical facilities had sustained significant damage. Iran's Supreme National Security Council convened for an emergency meeting, and statements from key officials suggested that Iran is preparing a multi-layered military and cyber response. In a bold and troubling development, Iranian officials also announced that the country would now accelerate its uranium enrichment activities. While Iran has long claimed its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, the new stance signals a potential withdrawal from international agreements and a renewed push toward nuclear armament. This move has alarmed global observers, particularly as diplomatic talks with Western powers had been showing signs of progress just weeks earlier. The United States, while expressing concern over the growing hostilities, made it clear it was not involved in Israel's operation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that the U.S. had no prior knowledge of the attack and reiterated Washington's commitment to defending its personnel and assets in the region. The Pentagon moved to bolster defenses at bases in Iraq, Qatar, and the Persian Gulf, as analysts warned of potential Iranian missile strikes or cyber attacks targeting American interests. Global markets reacted swiftly to the news. Oil prices surged more than 8%, reflecting fears of disruption in the Persian Gulf, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz, a key transit point for global oil shipments. Gold prices hit record highs, and stock futures tumbled as investors weighed the possibility of a broader regional conflict. The strikes also cast a shadow over ongoing diplomatic efforts aimed at limiting Iran's nuclear ambitions. The U.S. Special Envoy for Iran, who was scheduled to participate in talks in Oman, abruptly canceled his appearance, citing the need to reassess the situation. European and UN leaders urged all parties to de-escalate and return to negotiations. But with Iran vowing revenge and Israel preparing for retaliatory strikes, the prospects for diplomacy seem increasingly bleak. This latest conflict not only destabilizes the already volatile Middle East, but also places the world at a dangerous crossroads. With two powerful nations locked in open conflict, the risk of a wider war, potentially drawing in global powers, is now more real than ever. As both sides harden their positions, the coming days may prove critical in determining whether the region descends further into chaos or whether international pressure can steer the crisis back toward diplomacy.